Good morning. Oh, it's been a beautiful morning so far. I spent some time in the meditation room and then I went out to the atrium and spent some more time there. I did a double dipper today. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen now and then. And it's a beautiful morning outside and inside. And that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit today, outside and inside. The title that I've chosen for this morning is Soul Integration, Making the Psyche Whole. War is ending, inside and out. Oh, it's not visible yet to most people, but some of us on the cutting edge are sensing the big changes. The soul, our psyche, is becoming whole and letting go of the illusion of separation, that we humans are merely 7 billion disconnected entities. Actually, we are far more interconnected than most of us have even thought possible. The reintegration within and without will lead to changes personally and collectively. That process is accelerating. As I look at the drama that has been playing out in my life over the past several years especially, but even more so in the past year and a half to 2 years, I am amazed at the roller coaster ride and the changes in how I see things that goes on. Now, granted, like every one of you, I sometimes get caught up in things that are happening and go into a disconnect mode for a bit where I'm not feeling good and I'm feeling the negative emotions. But that's part of the process. That's what I've been trying to see myself and to help others to see. That this roller coaster ride is the process. You're going into the shadow, and apparently then you come back up out of the shadow into the light again, but then you descend back into the shadow, and you're recapturing, if you will, all of the lost facets and lost elements of your own being. And each time you descend and reascend in your personal experience, your emotional body, if you will, that part of your soul that just feels, just senses things. Each time you do that, you become more aware that it is a process, and you become more aware that it's for your good. Now, granted, I'll give it to you that some of the things that we experience don't feel good. In fact, a lot of the soul work doesn't feel good. You're dealing with fear, you're dealing with anger, you're dealing with feelings of alienation and deep separation. You're dealing with shame and with deep sadness and grief and sorrow. You're dealing with all the so-called negative emotions. That's part of your journey. That's part of the way home. You have to do that because we have collectively gone on this grand adventure into the illusion of separation, where duality, instead of it being the gift that was intended, becomes a seeming curse, where everything is polarized and at war with everything else. And that happens within and without. That's why we've seen what we've seen in our individual lives and, for those that are paying attention, in the world at large. We have seen the separate ego trying very hard to be separate. Now, I want to get something really clear. When the ego hears the message that we are one, that we are interconnected, it goes immediately, pretty much, into fear of not only alienation, but total disintegration of the being, of the individuation, of the personality, if you will. I know I'm at odds with many spiritual teachers who are playing one side of the paradox, just as I'm against the establishment that's playing the opposite side of the paradox. And they are polarized. No, that's not where you're going to find the answers. The answer is in bringing the two sides together. The light and the dark. Yesterday I made the statement, I am a light worker and a dark worker. It's been really hard for my ego in this lifetime to accept myself as a dark worker. That's the part of myself, the shadow, if you will, that I've tried so hard to get away from. I've pushed that out. And yet the message kept coming, no, don't push it away. The treasure is in that shadow. The treasure is in the darkness. It's not in the light. That's been my message. But now suppose I was one of the ones on this planet that's part of the elite establishment. The message is exactly the opposite. They're trying to push the light away because it would expose all the criminality and all the dastardly deeds that these individuals have perpetrated on themselves and on the rest of humanity in trying to control everything. But let me tell you this. It doesn't matter whether you're on the light side or the dark side. It's both a control issue. And control is an illusion. Things simply are what they are. And it's all reality. And it's all illusion. Ah, the paradox. It's both real and transient. It's present as experience, but all experience goes through changes. It is a process. Life is a process. It is not a fixed thing. One of the things that I am increasingly becoming aware of is that I exist for those for whom I exist. That's Anastasia, the Siberian mystic made known to us by Vladimir Megra. I exist for those for whom I exist, but I also, all creation serves me as I learn to serve all creation. All creation. Everything, excluding nothing. So what do I do? How do I carry that out in my personal day? I've shared this before. And sometimes I might forget in my darkest moments that this is true. As I do forget. I don't might. I do forget. But when I'm really realizing that I am interconnected, I live in a state of gratitude, recognizing that all the molecules and all of the processes and systems in my world, with my automobile, in my home, in my body, in everything around me, even in society, even in the system itself, it all serves me because I am serving it. And by it, I mean consciousness, the evolutionary process of forgetting and remembering again and again and again and again, repeating the process over and over till we finally get it through our thick skulls that we are loved and that our Creator accepts all of our journey and is not the one that is pushing us down. We're doing that to ourselves. We're doing that to ourselves. We're the ones that sit as judges, which is why Jesus said, as you judge, you shall be judged. Indeed, that's simply the way it works. However you are judging others, you are also judging yourself. Because that's your consciousness. And you cannot rise above your own consciousness, or put another way, you cannot rise above your concept of whatever you think God or creator or purpose is. You cannot rise above that, because that's your consciousness. That's where your expression is going to come from. And automatically, it's going to follow that as you think in your heart, you will experience in your life. And the thoughts that you're thinking in your heart are even deeper than the conscious mind, so that you're producing your experience from the unconscious part of your own being. But that unconscious part is becoming more conscious as the lights are coming on in 2011 and 2012, as the process of evolution is accelerating, so that we're finally getting it more and more and more and more. We're getting the fact that we've always been loved. We're starting to get that, and that all things really do work together for good. Even the bad things that we label and try to get away from and try to hide ourselves from, putting our heads in the sand. We're not going to be able to keep doing that, folks. There's still people that do that, a lot of people. But that has to change. And it changes individually, one soul at a time, one individual, one person at a time. But the ripple effects go outward. As I've said before, it's only a relative handful of people that we would label the dark side, the Illuminati. They call themselves Illuminati, which is a misnomer, but not completely. Not completely. The Illuminati is still, the light is still on in the dark, though it's been carefully sheltered, shall we say. It's not, there's been walls built around it, barriers built around it, so that it doesn't shine out. Just as on the light side, in the yin-yang symbol, there is darkness, and we hide ourselves from that darkness. We shield ourselves. I don't want to look at the darkness. But they're both us. They're both us. The light and the dark are both us, because we are unlimited, eternal beings that contain everything. We each are holographic expressions of the one creator, or God, if you will, goddess, if you will. We are the masculine and the feminine. We are the light and the dark. We are the good and the evil. We are both. We are both. And as we begin to merge the opposites and integrate within our own awareness that it's all me, that there's nothing separate from me, nor can there ever be, as we start to allow that concept to sink in, and we start to gradually open up so that we can see the truth in what the mystics and the scientists are telling us regarding the nature of reality. That what happens here affects everything else, because everything is sending out ripple effects, and the ripples merge with each other because it's all one thing. It's called life. And when we recognize it, it's called love. It's been love all along, but it doesn't feel like love. It feels like fear. But fear is just the other side of love that hasn't awakened yet. We don't have to get rid of fear. We just have to allow more love. We don't have to get rid of darkness. We just have to let the light come on brighter. That's all we have to do. It's all about allowing, allowing and being, allowing and being. And when you do that, it transforms and transmutes that which seemed to be your enemy and makes it your ally. And nothing changed, yet everything did. And it all started simply with a recognition that I am that. I am. And then we can really do Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And we do that every time we see the manifestation of the separation. Every time we see a soul that's not reaching their highest potential. Every time we see an individual human being struggling against seemingly insurmountable odds. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And thank you. Namaste.